Hello, this is Gene. I thought I would try a different area to show me, I guess, in. It's a little bit, it's getting really hot outside. I was going to sit out there and talk about this, but I think I need to talk about it inside. There's a lot of things that's gone on in the country over the last couple of weeks. And uh, sometimes I think that when I'm talking, I'm just really talking to myself. And I know that there are some people that actually watch my videos. Some people actually comment on it. Some people get really upset that I called out Will Poulter about his cuttingly, the way he acted about white privilege on my Cucks of the Week a couple weeks ago. That's been probably the most disliked videos I've ever had in my life, which is fine, and I'm all about it. But some of the things that was said in comments I had to delete because they were not helpful. Just say that. But what I want to talk about today is, what is our cause? Now, when I say our cause, anybody's cause. What is anything that actually wakes you up in the morning and says, I need to do something about this? And I'm going to talk a little bit about myself here. Obviously, I'm talking, so I know about my issues. When I joined the military years ago in 1983, it was more of a, well, I didn't really know their options. I didn't go, at that point, I didn't go into to defend my country, or because I thought it was the right thing to do, that every man should have to do this stuff or anything like that. It was basically, one, to not to worry about having my parents have to take care of me anymore. When I grew up, I was told, whether it was, I don't know, intentional, but it seemed to me that I was going to be out of the house when I was 18. Now, obviously, I turned 18 while I was still in school, but basically, once you got out of high school, that I was never going to be able to stay around the house unless I had a job and I was paying for my own way. And since I was 16 or 14, 15, I had a job. So I could have done it that way, but I decided to go in the military. So I didn't go in with some idea that I was going to save the world or anything like that. And back then, even though we were going through the Cold War, the military was so bloated at that time that, I found a job that wasn't really put me on the front lines. I didn't have that, that motivation to go and actually fight, let's say. So for a long time when I was in the military, I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as a 9 to 5 job. In a lot of ways it was. It was more like 7 to 5. And I just, went on with that. And I didn't really understand what that meant, what it meant by serving. And it didn't really happen until later on in my life when things started happening around the world. Obviously, as some of you might know, it was a couple days ago that was the 30s, what is it? It happened in 1985. So it was 32 years since there was a terrorist attack at Rhine Mine, which I was at, and I was walking to work that day. I was about 100 yards from where it actually blew up, and it physically pulled me back, or I actually fell down from the blast of the bomb. Now, there were other bombs that were on the base that day that didn't go off, and thankfully, but 2 people did die, and it did change some of my thought processes. But a lot of I was still in denial for a long time. Even after that, we didn't have this idea that it was Islamic terrorism, because it wasn't. It was somebody that didn't really want us to be there. It was more of I would say it was a leftist, communist type of thing that didn't want us there. The Americans still in Germany. Strange today that the Germans will let everybody come in, but that's a different video. So when I talk about what is your cause, and I didn't go into the military. I didn't come out as, I went as a liberals type of person. And the military didn't change me. I didn't become some conservative, right-wing person because I went to the military, although I was around it my entire military career. Now, I was in the Air Force. I wasn't in the Army. I was in the Marines. I didn't see it much as you would on those other institutions. But there were still, overall, I'd say 70 to 80% of the people that was in the Air Force were conservatives back then. And back then, got to remember that in the 80s we had Reagan and all that stuff. So there were a lot of people that just supported that, and we were doing pretty well. And the military was, like I said, it was fat. We had a lot of people that we didn't really need. So throughout my life, that happened, and eventually I got out. And I didn't really, I mean, I was always into political speech ideas. Most people that knew, that worked with me in the Air Force knew that I was, at some point, I wanted to run for political office. Because of my stroke now, that probably won't happen. But it's, like I said, this last, I don't know, I've had an awakening, and it's happened about 6 years ago. Right after my stroke, I had the time to heal my brain. And then I was on the internet, and I was never really on the internet that much. I'm from Generation X. Yeah, we had it. I didn't have a phone back then. There's a lot of things I didn't have, now I have. But so I started looking up stuff, and I'm a history buff, and I started looking at areas. And then I found different opinions on certain things. And then when I went down there, I started learning some other things. And over the last, 6 years, I've changed a lot of my beliefs when it comes to my political leanings. I still think overall I'm a classical liberal. If you look at the definition of it, I still am. And I think most people in my family are. So one of the reasons why I want to talk about what's going on now is I don't see a whole lot of people actually getting really upset at what's going on. And the only people that are really getting upset are the people that are equating the protests at Charlottesville, that the guys that are there with a permit, as being Nazis or racist or anything like that. I don't see anybody that are rational and look at it from both sides and just realize what the hell is going on. And it's been going on for a while in this country. There is an element in the left that is all about violence, that wants to shut down debate, shut down free speech. And it's been going on for a while, especially on campuses that if you're a conservative or you have a different type of something that's not the same as their belief structure, they will ban you from going to campuses. So I've been calling about this out forever. People obviously that have huge amount of following have been calling it out forever, but it still goes on. We have to say what's going on. Our colleges in this country are indoctrination camps for Marxist ideology. And people that knew me 6-7 years ago, I would have laughed at them for saying what I'm saying right now. But it's clearly true, and it's also seeped down into high school and to elementary school as well. The stuff that they send to our kids to basically indoctrinate them with the idea that everybody is equal. And before everybody gets so upset by the fact I say this, nobody is equal. You're not born equal. The greatness about our country is that under the rule of law, that we have equality for that you should go in, and if you get in trouble, that it doesn't matter how much money you have or no money, that we're going to treat you the same. Now, obviously, we're all human. And through our entire history in the United States, we've had different viewpoints of other people. So I've been talking about things that I don't put on Facebook, so I don't let my parents are dead, people in my family, people I don't really even know that are my family, because I know where they come down on these things, and they don't call out anything. I don't see anything on Facebook or anything by anybody from my family. I think that their lives are so good that it's not really affecting them. So this all kind of like started, getting to the top of it all. Because I said before, I'm a history buff. I realized how important our history was, and the framers and what they did, regardless of what they thought about black people at that time. The people who wrote the Constitution, they thought there was a difference. So for people to say that they think that that's not true is being foolish. Now, the problem that we run into this now is because the president actually talked about it. And yes, I'm going to talk about Trump. I voted for Trump. I voted Democrat my entire life until I came up with Trump. He talked about it, and he said, "What's next?" And it's already happening. They're going to take away all the Confederate statues, and we're going to take away Jefferson and Washington. And the problem is, when you actually look at the data, that all those people that had shit with slaves, and all those people look at that the white man was founded this country, that if we're going to go down that way, we're going to have to basically take away all of that, and then we'll say, well, since we're getting rid of all of that, then really the Constitution isn't that important either. So this is how the left works. Not everybody on the left, okay. The authoritarian left, they want to destroy the Constitution, and so they can have rule over everybody. They want to get rid of the Second Amendment, and they want to get rid of or they want to pare down the First Amendment, so only certain type of speech is allowed to say. And when you look at the unbelievable polls that are out there with millennials saying that over 40% say that they want free speech actually restricted, where do you think they're getting this from? Now, there are people in the alt-right, which I watch, and some of the tenets I actually support, but I'm not a Nazi, and I'm not racist. And anybody who's ever been around me knows this. I look at man or woman from their character. I don't give a shit what their color is. If you're a legal citizen in this country, I'm going to give you the same respect that I give anybody else. But once you don't do the right thing or you do something to me, I don't care what color you are. So the idea that now I lost what I was talking about. Oh yeah, I said some of the things about the alt-right I think are good, because I think we should defend European heritage and realize what that means. And one of these days, these people that are on the left or liberals are going to wake up and realize the country's gone. They can't say anything anymore. That somebody's going to point at you and say you're a racist, and at some point it's going to be a felony to do that, and they're going to put you into a camp somewhere, and you just think that it's not going to happen. This is how it happens. In every society over the last, 1,000 years, that this is what's happened at the end. And this is not paranoia. And what I don't understand is, does anybody care? The nihilism that we have in this country is so in-depth, so ingrained. The new generation, what they call Generation Z, is apparently more conservative. I don't know that that means anything, because the conservatives are not doing anything either. Almost all the conservatives en masse basically blamed the guys who were marching at Charlottesville, and somehow equated them to the crap that's been going over in Europe for the last 5 years with the Islamic terrorism. Some one kid who's is psychotic or whatever he is, until we find out about it, that apparently he is everybody that is bad on that side, and they don't care about what's going on the left, when the Antifa know that, are just doing what they're doing, and they've been doing it forever. Well, at least in my lifetime, they've been doing it. And it's like there's this blind spot out of millions and millions of people in this country, and apparently, I don't know, because I never hear them say anything about it. I don't know if they're worried if they say something out that might hurt them at their job or whatever, but I don't see anybody on Facebook or anybody talking about it from my family. And it's strange, because one of the guys, one of my uncles, is a history guy. He talks about everything about Belleville. But Belleville, people forgot what the guy from Belleville did to the congressman at the softball game. It's like it's forgot about. This is a lefty dude that was a Bernie Sanders supporter, and nobody was like, I don't see anybody from Belleville in my family ever disavowed him. Not one. Now, again, maybe they don't go on Facebook and talk about it. Maybe they got better things in life to do. I don't know. It's just what it's like. The only people in this country that have to actually disavow anybody are people that are on the right side of the political spectrum. Regardless of the fact of the history that almost all, the KKK started with the Democratic Party in the South. They were, it's almost all of that is from that side of the Democrats. So I don't know what our cause is. Do we have a cause anymore, or do we just go let it happen? That we don't care, that our history doesn't mean anything, and if we want to say at the end now, you know what, they were all racist back then anyway, so fuck them. Obviously they're racist, and that document that they did is racist. So let's get rid of that as well, and then we'll just figure out what happens after that. We are the last bastion in the world right now, and what I saw, the unbelievable hysterical response to Charlottesville, And now we're just going anywhere and taking away all these monuments. And what the fuck? I mean, my family, I don't know if they fought in the Civil War, but I would almost guarantee that some of them would have been in the South. Even though most of the family now is from Illinois and areas, I would almost, because what I know, that there were people in Alabama and Mississippi probably during that time before they moved up to Illinois. And even back then, I'm sure Southern Illinois was probably very pro whatever you want to call it. So there are so much information out there, so much history that's out there that these media outlets never talk about. Because once we go down this road, and when they actually say they're going to do this, and then they're going to continue to go further down this and say, you know what, well, Washington and Jefferson did that with the Declaration and the Constitution. Well, if he's racist, then means, because that's really what they want to say anyway. Black Lives Matter. All the people that were on the left, they're talking about we live in a white supremacist station or a country basically based on our founding documents. And I'm not going to say that's white supremacy, but there are several indications that they didn't want people from other areas to come in and come to this country. The old times, or in my past, I would have said that was just progress, that now that what they said they just didn't understand. But we've progressed past that now. But I just don't understand why people are just sitting there. It's like we're all in the Matrix now and nobody cares. The only people who really cares are the people in media, and they're all on the left. All of them, even on Fox News. They're out there crying because what Trump said, which was fair. There were bad people on both sides, okay? There were some people there I didn't like. There was one or two guys that have a Nazi fat flag on. Some guys from the Sons of the Confederacy. I don't think there was any KKK people there. But I don't know. I don't know really what I'm trying to say here. I'm just sitting there rambling because it seems to me that I know where this is going, that we're going down. And there's going to be such bloodshed, because when it gets to that point where the majority becomes the minority in this country, and it's happened in South Africa, that there's going to be a revolt, and there's going to be millions of people that are going to fight each other. And it maybe not happen in my lifetime, but it's going to happen. You just can't. I mean, I guess if you continually indoctrinate people to this bullshit that they've been indoctrinated onto for the last 40 years, maybe it'll just go through it. But we're going to become a third world country. And I don't understand why people just don't. Everybody should be just yelling like that one movie where the guy was a network and he's so mad at the world. I mean, somebody should be doing that, and there are some people that are doing it. But don't you see what's happening? I mean, I'm on YouTube. Nobody's really doing anything with me because I don't have anybody following me. But they're censoring speech on YouTube, and Google's doing the same thing, and a lot of other flat platforms are doing the same thing. They just don't want a different opinion. They want it to be their belief. They have this idea that, again, diversity is our strength. That's bullshit. It's not true. It's never been true in any culture ever. What happens when you have a multicultural issues, eventually war happens, and the team that has more motivation to win wins. That's what happens. Now, if it is our fault for slavery, which is not true, every human race did it. But if we're going to be punished for that forever, then there are going to be people who are white that says that we deserve it. They march in the streets, and now I'm getting kind of fired up because I'm thinking of all this stuff. White people march in the streets saying that we live in a white supremacy and that they hope that all white people die, that we're all going to look brown in 60 years. I'm like, what the fuck? Where is their pride in what they are? Now, can you say white pride? You can do it for any other race, but you can't say it for somebody like me. I don't understand this and why we allow it, and we're so afraid to say something about it. I get it. I do get it in a lot of ways. People live paycheck to paycheck, and they don't want to lose their jobs. But if enough people would stand up and say, we're not going to do this anymore. I'm not talking about go to the alt-right or anything like, or talk about race and all that shit. But just to the point that this is important, that we're allowing them to do it. And where is the president here? There should be a bill signed right now saying that do not do this anymore, that every monument is not sacred, but should be defended, and if you do that and you take it down, it's a federal offense for doing it. It's, I'm not, again, if the local community says we're not going to do it and they have a vote, and the vote says is how they want to do it, maybe in a democracy you have to let that go. But just because a mayor says I want to do it and then they do it without asking the actual town folk, and we just let it happen. And people just think that it's okay because they were all racist. Almost everybody back then had a different view of people. And they wanted the United States to be a white country. It's clearly in there. It doesn't mean that they were racist. They wanted their lands to reflect who they were. As in Japan or in Israel, all these people want that the same way. They want their land to be their own ethno-state. They do. And it's okay for them, but it's not okay for us. So anyway, again, what is your cause? Are you just going to sit there and let it happen? I'm 52 years old. How old am I? Whatever, 52. And okay, so I'm going to be dead at some point. But I'm worried about my kids and their kids dealing with this. And they're going to have to deal with it. It's going to happen. And a lot of people are going to get killed because of it, because nobody's standing up right fucking now and saying we're not going to do this. I don't care if you think that Jefferson was a racist or not, but we're not going to destroy the monuments for these guys just because you believe this. We have to always look back at in the past. We can learn from that and we go on. But they should be there. You don't just destroy them, because there's going to be white KKK people at some point are going to take down Martin Luther King statues. There's going to be riots. Instead of just saying this is enough. And when our president does things like that, and he's being, the contempt of the press against the president, there is no respect at all for the president. Now, yeah, he talked about fake news, but I'm talking about when he's actually talking to the president, how they talk to him, and they basically talk over him. It's unbelievable, but how we looked back at there are a lot of people on the conservative side the last 8 years, that wanted to impeach Obama and said he was a Muslim and all that shit like that. But none of the media never did this to Trump or to Obama. They just allowed him to just say what he wanted to say. I guess I'm old school. I think that you have to respect the office of the presidency. And I did it for guys I didn't like who were president. I never would have talked like that to George Bush or his father. The discord in the United States is just, it's disgusting. But you can't have a debate. You can't have a rational debate about things. People are so pigeonholed in their beliefs. Like I said, 6-7 years ago, I was a liberal. Now I don't consider myself right. But there are a lot of things in the alt-right I like. I want to defend Western civilization, and I have the ability and no issue to say that what Western civilization was created by white people. It was. The laws were created by white people. It was. Now, whether there are people from other races that helped, sure. But I'm talking about 99% of everything that happened in Western civilization was created by us. And now they want to take it away because we had slaves, when everybody around the world had slaves, including the same color or race had it. And still today in Libya, they still have it. So it's stupid, and nobody will stop it. And I don't know. I guess that's all I can say. But thank you for watching. I don't even know what I'm going to call this. I'll call it maybe a Friday of Ramble or something. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.